When the gas leak alert came in, everyone started evacuating the building in panic. But the facility security director did the exact opposite. "Nobody move," he shouted. That's when the fire crews arrived and realized who this man really was. But nobody knew why he stayed so calm. Not until later that night when everything spiraled out of control. Hello, welcome to The Last Stand. Have you or your loved ones ever experienced a major crisis? Share your experiences in the comments below. Jake Thompson had been working as security director at Hudson Valley Petrochemical Plant for 6 years. At 45, he was energetic, always joking around, and got along great with all the workers. Everyone at the massive facility with its 847 employees loved the guy. That night shift was just like any other. He sat in the control room monitoring the facility's overall security. Jake wasn't the quiet type. He was always chatting with workers, mentoring new hires, having coffee with the veteran foreman. "Jake, how's it going?" called out Carlos Rodriguez, the A-block foreman. "Good, Carlos. Quiet night. Let's hope it stays that way." Jake replied with his usual cheerfulness. "Hope so. This morning there was some weird vibration in the C7 tank." Jake looked at the monitors. C7 was the facility's largest fuel tank. 2.5 million liters of refined fuel. "Tell me more, Carlos." What Carlos told him had Jake worried. The sensors around C7 tank had been showing abnormal readings for the past 48 hours. Jake moved to the control panel. Pressure readings were above normal, and so was the temperature. "That's strange," he muttered. He picked up his phone and called Bob Carter, the morning shift engineer. "Bob, Jake here. What can you tell me about C7? "Jake, I noticed the same thing this morning. Could be a faulty pressure regulator, tech's coming tomorrow." "Tomorrow? What if something happens tonight?" "Jake, don't worry. We've got automatic safety systems. Nothing's gonna happen." Jake hung up but wasn't satisfied. His 25 years of experience sensed danger. At 12:47 a.m., the first alarm went off. Red lights started flashing. C7 tank pressure warning. C7 tank pressure warning. Jake jumped to his feet. Numbers on the monitor were climbing fast. "Carlos, emergency." Carlos came running. "What's happening, Jake?" "Pressure explosion in C7. Get all personnel away from that area." Jake grabbed his radio. "All units code red. Evacuate C7 area. This is not a drill." Then Jake's voice echoed through the facility's loudspeakers. "Attention all personnel. Emergency evacuation. Move away from C7 section." Jake's voice had changed. It was authoritative, sharp, commanding. While Jake was calling the fire department, a horrific sound came from C7 tank. Boom! The explosion could be heard from 5 kilometers away. Jake and Carlos were thrown to the ground. "Jake, what happened?" Carlos shouted, ears ringing. Jake got up, blood trickling from his ears, but his eyes were glued to the monitors. Main fuel tank exploded. Now it'll spread to A5, then domino effect. The scene on the monitor was terrifying. C7 tank was engulfed in flames. Workers around it were running everywhere. "Carlos, call emergency services. I'm going to rescue the workers." "Jake, wait. It's too dangerous." But Jake was already out the door. When Jake reached the C7 area, what he saw was a nightmare. Massive flames shot up to the sky. Smoke was everywhere. "Help US." He heard someone screaming. There was an injured worker trapped in the flames. His leg was pinned under a metal beam. Jake ran to him. "Stay calm. I'll get you out." "My leg's broken. I can't move." Jake tried to lift the metal beam, but it was too heavy. It burned his hands, but he didn't let go. "AAA," he screamed from both pain and effort. Finally, he lifted the beam and pulled the worker out. "Run. There's gonna be a bigger explosion." As Jake was carrying the injured worker to safety, A5 tank exploded too. Boom. Boom. The second explosion was even bigger. The shockwave threw Jake 10 meters. When he hit the ground, his left shoulder dislocated. His face scraped against the asphalt. He was covered in blood but got back up. "How many more people are inside?" he shouted to Carlos. 12 people trapped in block. Exit routes are blocked." Jake forced his shoulder back into place. His eyes watered from the pain, but he didn't stop. "I'm going in. You wait for the ambulances. Jake, you'll die in there. Nobody's gonna die. Nobody. Block was engulfed in smoke. Jake was having trouble breathing. His eyes were burning. Hey, anybody in here? He shouted. He heard weak voices. We're here. Help us. 12 workers had gathered in a corner, looking for an exit. I'm Jake. I'll get you out. Follow me. Jake, thank God. But the main exit was filled with flames. He needed to find an alternative route. This way, through the emergency exit. As the group followed Jake, the third explosion happened. D2 tank blew up. Boo! The explosion's force shook the building. Ceiling cracks opened up. Metal beams started falling. A large beam fell on the group. 3 workers were trapped underneath. Triple AAAAHH. Help use. My leg's broken. Get me out. Jake dove under the beam. The workers were slowly bleeding out. Stay calm. I'll get you all out. But the beam was so heavy he couldn't lift it alone. He asked the other workers for help. All together. 1, 2, 3. They lifted the beam, but one of the workers, young Tom Wilson, was in bad shape. Blood was coming from his stomach. Jake, I'm dying. No, Tom, stay with me. You've got a family. Jake put Tom on his back. 180 pounds of weight, tough with his injured shoulder, but he wouldn't leave Tom behind. When he got the group to safety, the 4th explosion happened. The main fuel center blew up. Boo-oo-oo-oo-oom. This explosion was so massive that windows broke within 150 meters. Jake and the group were thrown to the ground. Tom wasn't making any sound. Tom, wake up. Jake started CPR. His hands were covered in blood, tears streaming down his cheeks. Don't die on me, Tom. You're going home to your family. After 30 seconds, Tom opened his eyes. Jake, thank you. Just then, helicopter sounds started coming from outside. Media was starting to arrive. When Jake returned to the control center, the TVs were on. They were broadcasting the incident live. Explosions continue at Hudson Valley Petrochemical Plant. The number of dead and wounded is still unknown. Downtown is being evacuated. 500. 0 people are leaving their homes. Wind is blowing south. Toxic gas cloud moving toward the city. Jake looked at the TV. There were 8 news helicopters flying overhead, hundreds of ambulances and fire trucks around the facility. My God, what have we done? Carlos came up to him. Jake, can you stop this disaster? I don't know, Carlos, but I'll try. Fire Chief Stevens' voice came from outside. Is there anyone in command inside? Jake went outside. In front of him were over 50 fire trucks, 200 firefighters. I'm the security director, Jake Thompson. Chief Stevens looked at Jake. You know this facility? Yeah. I've been working here for 6 years. Then help us out. How many people died so far? Jake answered with a heavy heart. 7 people died, 23 seriously injured. Chief Stevens' face darkened. Will there be bigger explosions? Yes. E3 and F1 tanks haven't blown yet. If they do, what happens? Half the city burns. Chief Stevens gathered his team. We're going to manually intervene at E3 tank. We'll shut the valves and drain the fuel. Too dangerous, Chief. Humans can't survive in that heat. Jake stepped forward. I'll go. You're not a firefighter, but I know that system. Which valve? Which button? I know it all by heart. Stevens looked at Jake carefully. You didn't say who you are. This calm, this organized. Who are you, really? Jake hesitated. I'm just the security director, but I've dealt with these situations before. Where? Other places. Let's focus on E3 now. E3 tank was like hell. Temperature was 200 degrees. Flames everywhere. Jake and 5 firefighters entered the tank area in special protective suits. Main valve is 50 meters ahead. Jake shouted. Jake, running out of oxygen. Shouted firefighter Rodriguez. Hold on, 2 more minutes. When they reached the valve, Jake's hand had turned purple from burns. His glove had melted, but he kept going. Valve's stuck, won't turn. He tried to turn it with all his strength. His hands turned into a bloody mess. AAA, he screamed and finally turned the valve. We did it. Gas flow stopped. While they were shutting down E3, F1 tank exploded. Boom! This was the biggest explosion. The shock wave was felt 50 meters away. Jake and his team fell to the ground. 2 firefighters passed out. One was seriously injured. Rodriguez, wake up. Rodriguez couldn't breathe. Jake picked him up and started carrying him outside. Leave me, Jake, you'll die. I can't leave you. Jake was carrying an unconscious man through a burning building while he himself was at death's door. But he didn't give up. He carried him all the way to the exit. Stevens was amazed at Jake's sacrifice. This guy's not normal, he thought. When he got outside, dozens of cameras were pointed at Jake. What's your name? How many people did you rescue? Who are you? Jake was covered in blood, injured, exhausted, but he answered the questions. I'm Jake Thompson. I'm the security director at this facility. But you're acting like a firefighter. Jake hesitated. He didn't want to answer. I just did my job. Then Chief Stevens took the microphone. This man is Jake Thompson. He saved 127 lives tonight, but we don't fully know who he is yet. The next day, Jake's photo was on the front page of every newspaper. Anonymous hero saves 127 lives. Former fire captain prevents national disaster. Jake Thompson, America's new hero. Even the New York Fire Department chief called Jake. Thompson, Bu Chief Morrison. Yaptığın şey olağanüstüydü. Teşekkürler Chief. Sana bir teklifim var. Geri dönmeni istiyoruz. Departman eğitim direktörü pozisyonu. Jake şaşırmıştı. Chief, ben. Bilmiyorum. Düşün Jake. Bu ülkenin senin gibi insanlara ihtiyacı var. While Jake was in the hospital, the workers he saved came to visit one by one. Tom Wilson came with his wife and 2 children. Jake, you saved my life. My kids can still say Daddy. Maria Santos, the wife of Carlos, who he rescued, came with her son. Jake, you're our family's hero. Jake's eyes filled up. I just did my job. No, Jake, said Chief Stevens entering the room. You chose to be a hero. Jake, I want to show you something. Stevens turned on the TV. The news showed the aftermath of the Hudson Valley disaster. 127 people rescued, 14 dead, 67 injured. Without Jake Thompson's intervention, the death toll could have reached 500. President Biden invited Jake Thompson to the White House. Congressional Medal of Honor recommendation. Jake was watching the TV. Jake, said Stevens, you became a legend tonight, but more importantly, you forgave yourself. Jake nodded. In 2019, I lost 2 of my men. I'd been blaming myself ever since. But tonight you saved 127 people. You're a natural lifesaver. A week later, Jake returned to the New York Fire Department. He started as department training director. On his first day, he addressed new recruits. Hello, I'm Captain Jake Thompson. I'm going to teach you how to save lives. The young firefighters in the class listened respectfully. Some of you might know me from Hudson Valley. But let me tell you this. What made me a hero that night wasn't my past achievements. What was it? Asked a young recruit. When I was given a second chance, I chose to take it. If you enjoyed these powerful stories, don't forget to subscribe to the Last Stand channel. We'll continue bringing you more hero stories every day. Jake Thompson currently serves as Department Training Director at the New York Fire Department. The Hudson Valley facility was rebuilt and equipped with the most advanced safety systems. And every night before bed, Jake remembers that night. Not the day he lost 2 friends, but the night he saved 127 people. Because sometimes you don't run from the past to escape it, but to save the future. And sometimes the greatest heroism begins with forgiving yourself.